The coffee is hot, but the tension between the protagonists is even hotter. Imagine restarting your life at 40, a fresh divorce. A tiny dream cafe in a picture-perfect snowy village and one goal piece. Then a sleek corporate chain opens across the street. And its unbearably handsome owner decides your little corner is a problem to solve. This is the story of Antonia, who thought her romantic life ended with her divorce papers. And Jon, the man who bet against her and ended up losing his heart. Make yourself a Café de Olla, settle in and tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? I love imagining it, especially if there's something warm baking nearby. It was the morning of December 1st in the village of Pine Hill. The town looked like a vintage storybook, gabled roofs buried in pristine snow, shop windows glowing with fairy lights, and air so crisp it made your lungs feel brand new. At number 42 Main Street, the brass bell above the door of Antonia's corner chimed cheerfully. Antonia Montenegro took a deep breath. The air inside her coffee shop was her favorite perfume, freshly ground Arabica beans. Mexican vanilla from Veracruz, old wood, and cinnamon-like comfort with a pulse. At 40, Antonia was a force of nature in a soft, curvy body, dark, expressive eyes. Wild, dark curls pulled into a messy bun, rebellious strands escaping. Today she wore her winter battle armor, a bright red Christmas sweater with a reindeer on it, bold, festive, impossible to ignore. She wiped the solid oak counter in rhythmic circles. Antonia thought, 1st December alone, no fights about the tree. No little comments that shrink me. It's just me, my business, and Churro. Freedom smells like cinnamon. Churro, her sand-colored pug, sat in his tartan dog bed beside the cast-iron radiator, judging the snow outside like winter had personally offended him. Don't look at me like that, Gordo, Antonia told him, tossing him a biscuit. The game starts today. On the counter sat a stack of thick, textured cards, Advent calendar, 24 sips of Christmas. Customers could buy a pass and taste a surprise drink every day, Latin-inspired, holiday warm, made with real ingredients. Because across the street, like a chrome and glass spaceship in a fairy tale, stood the enemy. Nova coffee, 2 weeks old. Bright neon, minimalist, cold, cheap prices. And him. Jon Davenport. Antonia had seen him outside, tall, broad-shouldered, expensive wool coats, a square jaw, and the kind of confidence that acted like it paid rent. The bell chimed again. A gust of icy air swept in, and with it came Jon Davenport. In person he was annoyingly striking. Dark blonde hair cut with precision. Ice-blue eyes that scanned her shop with curiosity and calm arrogance. Jon approached the bar, removed his black leather gloves slowly, and placed them on the counter. "So this is Antonia's corner," he said. His voice was smooth, educated, controlled. "It's quaint." Antonia smiled without warmth. "Quaint usually means small and old, Mr. Davenport. Here we prefer full of soul. What can I get you lost on your way to your own Wi-Fi?" A faint, lopsided smile tugged at his mouth. "I know my Wi-Fi, Mrs. Montenegro. I came to see the competition. I've heard rumors about a calendar." He pointed to the cards. Antonia lifted one. 24 days. 24 specialty drinks. Handmade, no industrial syrup. Real spices, real care. Jon gave a soft chuckle. Adorable strategy. But people want caffeine fast and cheap. They want fuel. Antonia felt her pride flare steady, stubborn, Capricorn stubborn. "People want to feel cared for, Jon," she said, using his first name like a small dare. "My coffee isn't fuel. It's a hug." His gaze flicked briefly, then returned to her eyes. He leaned an inch closer, as if testing the edge of her space. "A hug doesn't beat a spreadsheet," he murmured. Nova captured 40% of the market in 2 weeks. Antonia slapped a card on the counter. "Then let's make it interesting." Jon's brows lifted. "I'm listening." "A bet," she said. "You buy the full pass. You come here every day from December 1st to the 24th. You taste my drink of the day. And if I decide Nova's coffee is better?"
he asked. Antonia held his gaze. "Then I close Antonia's corner."
"I sell, I leave." Jon's expression sharpened. "That's reckless." "It's confidence," she corrected. "And if you lose on Christmas Eve, you wait tables here, dressed as an elf, a beat." Then Jon laughed real laughter, surprising himself. "Deal," he said. "Get ready to close, Antonia." I'm hard to impress. He paid for the full pass in advance, then nodded toward the espresso machine. Day 1. Surprise me. Day 1. Antonia made a traditional café de Olla in a clay pot piloncillo, cinnamon sticks, orange peel. The shop filled with sweet spice and warmth. Jon eyed the clay mug. Clay? Drink, Davenport, Antonia said, and be brave. He took a sip. Antonia watched like a hawk. His shoulders dropped just a fraction. His eyelids lowered for half a second. Then he recovered his cool. It's sweet, he said. Interesting. Too rustic for the mass market, Antonia thought. You liked it.
I saw it.
She stamped his card. See you tomorrow. Day 3, lavender and local honey latte. Day 5, cortado with dulce de leche. Every morning at 8 o'clock, Jon arrived punctual as a metronome. And every morning their conversations shifted. Less business, more something else. Do you always work alone? Jon asked on day 4, wiping foam from his lip. I have Lucy in the afternoons, Antonia said. Mornings are mine. After my divorce, I decided no one else steers my ship. Jon's gaze softened, just a little. Control is exhausting, he admitted. Sometimes it feels like holding up the ceiling. Antonia paused, surprised by the honesty. She slid him a plate. Banana bread, she said, on the house. You look like you need potassium and affection, Jon smiled, an actual smile that warmed the edges of his face. Antonia ignored the way her stomach flipped. Day 12 arrived with a blizzard that swallowed Pine Hill by afternoon. Roads closed, power cut out in the north half of town. Nova Coffee went dark, smart doors locked, machines dead. But Antonia's corner stayed open. Old gas stove, emergency candles. A stubborn heart. Jon pushed through the door, snow clinging to his coat, cheeks red from wind. He looked furious at winter itself. My power's out, he said. My staff went home. My car is buried. Antonia stood behind the bar, lit by candlelight. Warm gold against cold blue outside the windows. Come in, castaway, she said. We have heat, Churro barked once at Jon, then decided Jon's boots were an acceptable portable radiator and curled up against them. Jon stared at the candles and shadows. Aren't you afraid in here alone? I'm not afraid of the dark, Antonia said softly. I'm afraid of living a gray life. She lifted a bottle. Day 12, Irish coffee, hand-whipped cream. Perfect for storms. She made it with steady hands. Whiskey, strong coffee, brown sugar, cream floating on top like a snowfall. Jon sipped. A sound escaped him, quiet, involuntary half-relief, half-wonder. It's incredible, he admitted, and the arrogance finally slipped off his shoulders. Antonia's throat tightened. Better than Nova? Jon turned toward her. Candlelight caught his ice-blue eyes and made them look deeper. For 12 days, he said, I haven't cared about Nova's coffee. Antonia's breath caught. I come here, he continued, because you're real. You fight. You care. You make something warm in a world that's always cold. He reached up and brushed a tiny speck of flour from her cheek, gentle, almost reverent. Their faces drifted closer. And then Jon's phone rang, sharp and corporate, shattering the moment. He flinched, eyes cursing the screen. Headquarters. It's about generators. Antonia stepped back, suddenly aware of her own heartbeat. Of course, she said, forcing calm. Business first. Jon looked torn. Antonia, wait, go, she said. Tomorrow is day 13. He left, swallowed by the storm, and the shop felt colder for the empty space he left behind. He left, swallowed by the storm, and the shop felt colder for the empty space he left behind.
Snow kept falling on Pine Hill, piling the world into soft white quiet. Inside Antonia's corner, warmth, grew spice, laughter, familiarity. Jon kept his word. Day 13, 14, 15, all the way to 18. Goat milk, caramel coffee, ancho chile, mochaxino, horchata cold brew. Their sarcasm had melted into dangerous comfort. It was closing time on day 18. Han lingered to help stack chairs, though he mostly watched Antonia move like she belonged to the place. I never asked why they sent you here, Antonia said, wiping down the espresso machine. A corporate shark like you should be in New York. Jon leaned on a broom. They sent me because I fix disasters. And because the board wanted me out of the city for a while, they say I'm too intense. Intense. Antonia laughed. You're a headache, Davenport, but a headache with good taste. Jon smiled. I haven't admitted you've won yet. You've been here 18 days, she teased, still stalling. You've been here 18 days, she teased, still stalling. I'm savoring, he said. Besides, I have time. At 29, I'm in no rush. Antonia Frosa, 29, she repeated. Jon blinked. I turned 29 in October. Antonia's stomach flipped for an entirely different reason. Antonia thought, he's a baby, a very tall, very handsome baby. I'm 40, she blurted, as if confessing a crime. Jon stepped closer, calm and steady. And it matters, she said. Defensive, different stages, different lives. Jon's voice softened. Antonia, look at me. He didn't touch her, didn't trap her, just stood close enough to be honest. I come here because you feel like home, he said. Not because you're younger, not because you're easier, because you're you. Antonia swallowed. The shop is closed, she whispered. Jon's gaze held hers. Invite me upstairs, he said quietly. No bats, no Nova. Just one night where we stop pretending this isn't happening. Antonia hesitated, then nodded. Upstairs, her apartment smelled faintly of laundry soap, cinnamon, and pine. A patchwork quilt covered the bed. Outside, snow turned the window into a soft blue glow. Jon kissed her slow at fierce-like permission. Antonia's hands found his hair, and her fear loosened its grip. When she pulled back, breathless, she whispered, I'm not perfect. Jon touched her cheek with care. You don't have to be perfect, he said. You just have to be here. And for the first time in a long time, Antonia let herself be held without bracing for impact. The storm continued outside. Inside, the world narrowed to warmth, laughter in the dark, and the gentle certainty that neither of them wanted to leave.
Antonia woke to quiet and the smell of coffee made the wrong way, but with earnest effort. She wrapped herself in a robe and padded downstairs. Jon stood in her small kitchen, barefoot, hair messy, holding Churro like an offended little loaf of bread. The pug looked personally betrayed by being carried. Jon stirred a mug. Good morning, he said, voice soft with sleep. I tried to make your cinnamon coffee. I think I burned the sugar. Antonia smiled, warmth blooming in her chest. It smells like you tried, that counts. Jon set Churro down. The pug huffed and marched to his bed like a grumpy king. Jon leaned in and kissed Antonia gentle, steady. I have to go open Nova, he admitted. But today... I'll come later. Antonia raised a brow. Later? Jon rubbed the back of his neck, a rare hint of embarrassment. Today at 10. Consider it. Consequences. Antonia laughed quiet, pleased. 10, then. At the door Jon paused. His ice-blue eyes turned serious. This wasn't a strategy, he said. You and I... It's real. He left, and Antonia stood there holding a mug, heart full and terrified. Antonia thought, slow down, one day at a time, but, oh, this feels like something worth risking. December 24th arrived wrapped in perfect snowfall. Antonia's corner overflowed with people, scarves, laughter, and carols humming softly from the speakers. Pine garlands framed the windows. Fairy lights twinkled. The whole place smelled like clove, cocoa, and joy. Antonia worked behind the bar, glowing with exhaustion. She wore her favorite red reindeer sweater, the one with the fuzzy pom-pom nose. 5 o'clock, the brass bell chimed. And the room seemed to hush. Jon Davenport walked in. Black wool coat, gray cashmere scarf, snow on his shoulders. He moved like he belonged anywhere, but his focus locked on Antonia like nothing else existed. Day 24, he said. Antonia's mouth went dry. Day 24, she echoed. The end of the bet. She held up the final card. Today isn't coffee. It's Ponche Navadigo with a little kick, my grandmother's recipe. Winter fruit, sugar cane, cinnamon. An aged rum. She poured the steaming red drink into a mug. The aroma rose sweet, bright, comforting. The town watched. Jon took a long sip, eyes closing as if he could taste memory. He set the mug down gently. Antonia crossed her arms, protecting her heart. Be honest. Nova is cheaper, faster. Say I lost. Jon leaned in, voice clear enough for everyone to hear. You're right, he said. I am a businessman. A beat. And a good businessman knows when he's been beaten. A murmur swept the café. The coffee at Nova is hot brown liquid, Jon said. What you serve here is magic. These 24 days have been the best part of my year. Antonia blinked hard. So you admit it, she managed? Antonia's corner is superior? Without a doubt, Jon said. That means you lost. Jon's smile turned soft. I lost the bet, he said. But I think I won something better. Antonia reached under the counter and lifted a box. A deal is a deal, Scorpio, she said. Suit up. Jon took the box like a man accepting fate. 5 minutes later, the back door opened. Jon stepped out wearing a green elf hat with pointed ears and a green apron with tiny jingle bells. And somehow, infuriatingly, he still looked handsome. The cafe erupted in laughter and applause. Jon gave an exaggerated bow. At your service. For the next hour, the owner of Nova Coffee waited tables, handed out gingerbread, and wiped counters with the seriousness of a man completing a sacred mission. Every time he passed Antonia, he winked. Every time, Antonia blushed like it was day one. At last, the final customer, Mrs. Higgins, delighted left. Antonia locked the door and flipped the sign to closed. Only the tree lights remained, twinkling in cozy silence. Jon removed the elf hat and set it down. The bells jingled softly. He stepped behind Antonia as she counted the register and wrapped his arms around her waist. Satisfied, boss? He murmured. Antonia leaned into him. You are a good employee. I might hire you. Jon turned her gently to face him, hands warm on her cheeks. Antonia, he said quietly, I'm going to change Nova. Her eyes widened. Jon, your investors. I'll convert it, he said. Not against you. With you, your beans. Your recipes. Your name, if you'll let me. His thumb stroked her cheek. I don't want to compete, he said. I want to be on your side of the street. Antonia's voice came out small. It's only been 24 days. Jon's smile flickered, vulnerable, sincere. Then let it be the first 24 of many, he said. I want your reindeer sweaters, your loud laugh, your stubborn pride. And your snoring pug. Churro, as if summoned by relevance, snorted from his bed. Antonia laughed through a sudden sting in her eyes. And I want you, she whispered. Even if you burn sugar. They kissed under the mistletoe by the door slow, sure, full of future. Outside, snow kept falling. Inside, it smelled like cinnamon and home. And that's how Antonia, who thought her romantic life was closed for inventory, found love, through a ridiculous bet and a lot of caffeine. And that's how Antonia, who thought her romantic life was closed for inventory, found love through a ridiculous bet and a lot of caffeine. And Jon, who trusted spreadsheets more than feelings, learned that the best things can't be measured. If this story wrapped you up even a little, subscribe, and we'll stay a while longer together. And tell me in the comments, would you dare to bet your heart on 24 sips of Christmas? Merry Christmas, and may your days be warm, sweet, and full of little lights.